So a couple weeks ago we added this return air above the wood stove here, and that has been working super well to get the heat transferred up into the house. But when the fire dies down, I don't really want the furnace fan running, which right now you can kind of hear the furnace fan is actually running. So I want to add a thermostat that is dedicated to just bringing the furnace blower on when there's excess heat in the basement, and then the rest of the time just leaving it off. So these are all very similar thermostats. So this one here will only close on temperature fall. So if we turn this up, actually we can't even turn it up high enough because it's warmer than 50 degrees in here. But when you turn this one up, it opens the contacts, and when you turn it down, it closes the contacts. So it just has this one pair here, and there's probably continuity right now. Maybe not. This one actually might be completely bad. Then we have this one right here. You can see this one has 3 contacts, yellow, blue, and red. And if we go between the yellow and red, we have continuity right now because it's turned up, and then when you turn it down, oh, actually because it's turned down, and then when you turn it up, it will open that contact. See that? But it will close, yeah, it'll close this contact here. So when you turn it back this way, it then opens that contact and closes this contact. So you can use this one to either bring on a heater or bring on a air conditioning or a cooler. So this is the type that we need. We need one that will open on temperature fall instead of open on temperature rise. We want it to close on temperature rise and then open on temperature fall. This one here only closes on temperature fall, and I think we actually are going to use this one because it has the remote thermostat probe, so I can mount this like at a comfortable height, maybe here, and then I can run that probe up above the wood stove where all the heat's going to be accumulating, and then it'll just automatically come on when it hits whatever temperature I have it set here on the dial, and then I'll just run a low voltage wire down and into the furnace. So I think that's the one we're actually going to use. This one here is another one that has 3 connections, and you can set it up to do either option. But I like the remote probe on this one. The rest of these all just have their probes built into the switches. So, and in case you don't know, there's like a little spring and diaphragm inside here that pushes on a little set of contacts, and this has some refrigerant in that tube, so when the temperature goes up or down, the pressure inside this increases or decreases, and it's able to push open or push closed the contact based off of the pressure of the refrigerant in this line. So this one here just has a long capillary, and then that reservoir of refrigerant is way out at this end, so you can put this thing, you can put the thermostat about anywhere and then run the probe to where you want to actually sense the temperature, versus these ones you have to run the wires and everything right up to the switch, and you have to mount this exactly where you want it. So I think I'm going to just mount the switch right here on the return air, then I can just have the low voltage wire come down here, and I can just send the copper probe up and across, like over top of the ductwork, over that direction. So as for the wiring, we're just going to hook one wire to the top terminal, one wire to the bottom terminal, very straightforward on this end. And I might actually just let this come out of the same, there's a little cutout right here where the copper wire comes out for the temperature sensor, and I think I'm just going to allow this to come out right there. I'm not sure what these were, but I used them to hold my low voltage wires when I put my furnace in. So I can just bend that open, stick this in here, and then we'll run the probe up and across that way. So we'll just bring the wires through the side of the furnace right here. And this is excessively long, so I'm going to get it trimmed. Absolutely love these Milwaukee wire strippers. And not just because they're Milwaukee, they're actually really nice. We'll leave ourselves about this much. Okay, so on the control board, we have a C, a G, an R, a W, a Y, Y2, and Y1. So that's for if we had two-stage cooling. Sometimes you'll have two-stage heating as well, so there would be like a W1 and a W2. But in this case, this board's only set up to have second-stage cooling. We're not going to really change anything with the original thermostat wiring, except that we're going to install these two new wires. We're going to put one onto the G terminal and one onto the R terminal. So when that thermostat closes, it'll send 24 volts down to the G, which is the fan call. So the R, that just carries 24 volts, it sends it up to the thermostat. And then when the thermostat wants to bring on the heating, it sends 24 volts down on the W and on the G, depending on how the thermostat is. Sometimes it doesn't bring on the G. If you want to run just the fan, then you switch that fan switch on the thermostat, and it brings on, it sends the voltage down on this G wire, which brings on the blower. If it wants to bring on air conditioning, then it just sends that 24 volts down on the Y. And there's a second wire, this red one right here. This actually goes out to the air conditioner and brings on the contactor, and the air conditioner contactor, the other wire for it, is just hooked directly to the C. I don't have 5 wires, so I don't have a C wire coming from my thermostat, so I have to use batteries in my thermostat, but that's fine. So we'll just hook this from G to R, and then that should allow us to turn the fan on from that switch. I'm going to put the white one on G and the red one on R, but it actually doesn't matter. We could put this however we want. There we go. Hi there. Can you pass me that cover? Thank you. So now when we power this back up, the furnace blower is probably going to come on, because right now it's on at the thermostat upstairs, and I'm guessing it's probably on right here as well. So there goes the furnace blower. Let's turn this. Let's leave that off. I'll go turn it off the thermostat as well. So right here at the thermostat, you can see we're at 72 because of the wood heat, and the fan has just been on. Let's switch it to auto, and I should be able to go downstairs and the fan should shut off. So right now the basement is not super warm. I don't have an exact temperature to tell you, but you can see the contacts are open, and I've got it set to like 90 degrees. So I'm guessing the basement is closer to like 75 or maybe 80. So let's turn it down until it clicks on. Looks like that was like 68. There's off at about 74. So right there should be coming on. I had to switch off to the furnace, so I just turned that back on. Now it should bring on the blower. And see, so it'd run, if we have it set right now, it'd be bring on the blower at 20 degrees. Once it cools down here enough, then it should just shut off. But it's always so confusing when you're looking at it, but I'm still confused. I think this is right. So right now I have it set to come on at like 80. I'm just going to take this bulb right here. I'm going to warm it up And we should be able to warm it up until we hear this thing click. There it went. Just from the heat of my hand. I also pressed it against my stomach a little bit. And so now it'll bring on the fan. And once this bulb cools off the right amount, then it'll just shut off. We could stick it in the return air and it'll probably cool off a little faster. So there we go, I got it stuck in the return air. And once it cools off, it should shut this thing down. Okay, I kind of messed with it, but it was kind of right on the edge of shutting off. So now we can just set this to whatever we want. I'm kind of thinking that if it's 75 or warmer, I want it to be pulling from the basement. So there's 60, there's 70, that means right there is 75. So I think that's where I'm going to actually leave this. And as long as the wood stove is burning, it should be warm enough that the furnace fan will run. And that is, of course, regardless of how I have the switch set in the thermostat upstairs. So I guess the only annoying thing is that if you do want to shut the fan off, you'd have to actually physically come down here and turn this dial in order to shut it off. But I'm willing to live with that inconvenience. Okay, so I just put a plastic clamp here and then zip tied it so that this is nice and secure, and that'll insulate it from the temperature of this duct, because this is actually cooler since it's pulling air from upstairs than the temperature right here. And then the heat rising up off of the wood stove, or the radiant heat coming up off the wood stove, should affect this bulb just right so that it uses this thermostat to cycle the fan on and off on the furnace. So I think that'll be a nice little addition. See, it must be close to 80 degrees down here, because right when I turn it past 80 it shuts off. So I could leave it, you know, set right here, and it'll have to heat up to a little bit past 80 before it'll cycle on. Or I can set it lower so that there's cycling on at like 75. I heard it click and it's going to bring the furnace on. So I think I want the basement, the air in that pocket, to be around 75 degrees when it comes on, so I think I'll leave it set right there. So I labeled it, so if I die, people will know what it is. When there's like random controls that you don't really know what they do, it can be a little bit confusing. But yeah, there it is, placed nicely. I need to find one of those knobs that you can slip on here. They have like a little dial switch that sticks on here. I don't have one at the moment. I'm sure I have one somewhere out in my parts, but that can stick on there, and then you can use your fingers instead of having to get in there. But I pretty much always have like a pocket knife with me, so it's pretty easy to just get in here and turn it like this. So if I don't want the fan to run, I can just turn it like that, and it'll probably never get up to 90 in the basement, so that'll be fine. We'll just leave that set to come on at 75, and yeah, should be good to go. So just another one of those little Saturday home projects. Staying nice and toasty down here, but the fire is always hungry, so I gotta keep feeding it. It's always hungry. It'll take as much as you can put in. Would you like that? So anyway, I guess that's pretty much it for this little project. Pretty simple to add. I think that took me like a half hour, and I wasn't going very quickly. So anyway, I hope that you enjoyed the video, and I will talk to you guys later.